Hey, hello YouTubers. I'm back with another video. This one is, you know, pretty disgusting again. So I'm here with another true crime situation that is horrible. So anyway, we're gonna give a shout out to let's see who let me see who had this. Okay. Oh yes, Shadows of Crime, another channel that I go through every now and then. So shout out to Shadows of Crime. You guys go over to their YouTube page and check out their content too. So anyway, this story is heartbreaking, and you got to see this. Okay. So let me get to it. Little girl.
The 911 call came in at 11 p.m. on July 14. I was beating my little granddaughter and now she is out of it, Clint Elwoods told the dispatcher with disturbing calmness. When police arrived at the Park Forest home, they found 5-year-old Jada Moore completely nude and unresponsive on the couch. EMTs rushed to perform CPR. The child was airlifted to Comer Children's Hospital, fighting for her life. But the damage was too severe. In the early hours of Saturday, July 15, Jada Moore was pronounced dead. I was a little too rough with my grandbaby, Elwoods later admitted from the back of a police car. Those words, so casual, so detached, would chill investigators to their core. The autopsy revealed a body covered in bruises, abrasions, and scars in various stages of healing. Internal injuries, bleeding between her brain and skull. This wasn't just one incident of abuse. It was systematic torture that had been ongoing for months. The trigger for this final fatal beating? A potty training accident. A normal childhood struggle that millions of parents navigate with patience had become, in this household, grounds for a death sentence. Inside the home, detectives discovered the evidence of calculated cruelty. A belt used as a weapon, soiled children's underwear, and most disturbingly, a calendar where the grandparents had meticulously marked 4 dates in June when Jada had accidents. They were tracking her failures, building a case against a 5-year-old child. A notarized letter was found giving the grandparents custody for school and medical decisions. Jada's mother, Kimberly, had trusted her parents to care for her daughter while she established a new life in Georgia. That trust would cost Jada her life. During questioning, both grandparents, 62-year-old Elwoods and 57-year-old Jones, admitted to regularly beating the child with a belt, their hands, and even a shoe. Jones explained matter-of-factly that Jada had a history of pooping on herself and that Elwoods had warned the child what would happen if she had another accident. On July 14, that threat became reality. Elwoods forced Jada to bend over and struck her buttocks between 10 and 12 times with a belt. The beating was so severe it proved fatal.
The beating and the anger that he showed towards my daughter, I've never seen from him. I would have never sent her there.
Tonight, a mother's agony. A woman who trusted her young daughter's care to her parents is sharing the gut-wrenching moment she learned her girl was dead, allegedly beaten to death by those grandparents.
Yeah, absolutely horrible indeed, Dawn and Corey. Kimberly Elwood says that she had, her father openly agreed and even offered to look after her 5-year-old daughter while she was out of state looking for stable housing and a new job. She says that there were no warning signs and she'd never known her father to be an abusive man. Today, just a few hours ago, Kimberly's boyfriend and her child's father literally had to carry her out of the medical examiner's office after she identified her own daughter here.
It says happy birthday.
It says happy birthday. So whose birthday was it?
It was mine.
And how old are you now?
5.
Clint L. Woods and his wife Lisa Jones both charged with murdering their own granddaughter, Jada Moore.
I'm all out of tears. I look at him as a monster. I don't even want to carry his last name no more.
Court documents say last Friday, L. Woods dialed 911, telling a dispatcher, quote, "I was beating my little granddaughter and now she is out of it." The alleged abuse occurred inside the couple's home here along Osage Street in Park Forest. Police found Jada laying on the couch naked, with detectives obtaining Jada's shorts and soiled underwear. Also, a calendar on the refrigerator detailing 4 dates last month when her undergarments were allegedly soiled.
Not in that time has she ever said, "Mama, I'm scared. Mama, come get me. He's hitting me. They're beating me." Nothing like that.
Welcome to Shadows of Crime. If you're new here, hit subscribe to join.
Yes, there's their page. Every child struggles with potty training. And if they're nervous and scared, if you've been beating them and abusing them all the time, they're gonna have accidents because they're so nervous and scared. So they're gonna have accidents. Like, you know, I've helped potty train all of my grandkids. I have 5. The 2-year-old, he's next. And I've never, yes, I'll get upset if they pee on the floor or whatever, but I will never beat a child because they had accidents. And again, I have 5 grandchildren. They've all had accidents. It was all a process. Some took longer than others, but I have never wanted to beat them because they peed on themselves or whatever, because that just makes it worse. Like, if you're nervous and you're scared because you might get beat, you're going to have accidents. So you praise them when they do it and they get it. You give them nothing but praise. And when they have accidents, you still just, yes, it makes you upset. You got to clean up the mess or whatever. But you just say, listen, you're going to have to go to the bathroom, maybe time out. I don't know. But I had to deal with it last summer. So it was not easy, but I never beat her. Never, ever. Okay. Because she peed on herself or whatever. Yeah, I get upset. But I would never. I mean, this is horrific, y'all. This is horrific. This baby did not deserve this. I hope those people are getting their ass beat in jail, in prison. Shit is ridiculous. So let me continue with this. Like I said, this is their page. Please go and subscribe. Let me just fast forward just a teeny bit. Just a teeny bit. Okay. Let's go.
Your engagement helps spread awareness about these crucial issues and could potentially save lives. Right. Jada Moore entered the world in 2018, a bright-eyed baby girl born to Kimberly L. Woods. Those who knew the family during these early years described a mother who doted on her daughter. Photos recovered from family social media accounts show a smiling toddler celebrating birthdays, playing at parks, and experiencing the simple joys of early childhood. By all accounts, the bond between Kimberly and Jada was strong. Neighbors who knew them recalled a mother who sang to her daughter, read her bedtime stories, and worked tirelessly to provide for her needs. Jada was described as a happy child with an infectious laugh that could light up a room. She loved everything Barbie, playing with stuffed animals, and was particularly fond of dancing whenever music played. Kimberly was always patient with Jada, a former neighbor told reporters. You could tell how much that little girl meant to her. They were inseparable, but life circumstances can change quickly, especially for single parents. By early 2023, Kimberly found herself facing mounting financial pressures. The apartment complex where they lived had increased rent beyond what she could afford on her salary. Job opportunities were limited in their area, and the cost of childcare continued to rise, creating a perfect storm of economic hardship. After weeks of searching for solutions, Kimberly learned of promising employment opportunities in Georgia, jobs that offered better pay, benefits, and potential for advancement. The prospect of building a more stable future for herself and Jada seemed within reach, but it required a difficult decision. She agonized over what to do, said a friend who spoke to investigators. Kimberly wanted to create a better life for Jada, but she needed time to get established in Georgia first, find housing, secure employment, and save enough money to provide properly for her daughter. Faced with limited options, Kimberly reached out to her parents, Clint Elwoods and Lisa Jones. The arrangement seemed logical. Jada would stay with her grandparents temporarily while Kimberly established herself in Georgia. Once settled, she planned to bring Jada to their new home. In preparation for this temporary separation, Kimberly obtained a notarized letter giving her parents custody for school and medical decisions, a document later found by investigators searching the grandparents' home. This legal step demonstrated Kimberly's intention to ensure Jada's needs would be properly addressed during their separation. What should have been a short-term solution to a common family challenge instead became a death sentence for the 5-year-old. Phone records obtained during the investigation revealed frequent calls between Kimberly and her parents during the first weeks of separation. She checked on Jada regularly, unaware of the abuse beginning to unfold. Text messages recovered from Kimberly's phone showed her sharing news of promising job interviews, apartment viewings, and plans for Jada's arrival in Georgia, while Kimberly worked toward reunification, believing her daughter was safe in the care of family. Jada was enduring escalating abuse that would ultimately claim her life. The temporary arrangement that was meant to secure a better future instead robbed a young girl of any future at all. Clint Elwoods, 62, and Lisa Jones, 57, lived in a modest single-story home in Park Forest, Illinois, a suburb about 30 miles south of Chicago. From the outside, their residence appeared unremarkable, a well-maintained property with trimmed hedges and seasonal decorations that blended seamlessly into the quiet neighborhood. Neighbors described the couple as private but cordial. Elwoods had worked for nearly 3 decades at a local manufacturing plant before retiring 5 years earlier. Jones held a part-time position at a nearby retail store. They attended community events occasionally but largely kept to themselves. Few neighbors knew much about their personal lives or family history. They would wave if you saw them outside, but they weren't the type to stop and chat, recalled one neighbor who lived across the street for over a decade. I had no idea they even had a granddaughter until I saw the police cars that night. This privacy would later prove significant. It created the perfect environment for abuse to flourish undetected. When Kimberly approached her parents about temporarily caring for Jada, the arrangement seemed straightforward. Elwoods and Jones had raised Kimberly, and despite what family members later described as a strict upbringing, there were no obvious red flags suggesting they would harm their granddaughter. The initial plan included clear expectations. Jada would stay with her grandparents for approximately 3 to 4 months while Kimberly established herself in Georgia. During this time, the grandparents would ensure Jada attended kindergarten, received proper medical care if needed, and maintained regular communication with her mother. What no one anticipated was how Elwoods and Jones would react to the normal challenges of caring for a 5-year-old child. Their generation had grown up with different approaches to discipline, but their response to Jada's developmental struggles went far beyond outdated parenting methods. It crossed into deliberate cruelty. Looking back, there were subtle warning signs that went unnoticed or unaddressed. A cousin who visited the home in May, approximately 2 months before Jada's death, later told investigators she noticed the child seemed unusually quiet and withdrawn. Jada used to be so talkative and playful, the cousin stated in her witness testimony. But that day she barely spoke. When I asked if she was feeling okay, Lisa quickly answered for her, saying she was just tired. I should have pushed harder. A kindergarten teacher noted in her class records that Jada had become increasingly reluctant to participate in physical activities, often complaining of soreness. When questioned, Jada would say she fell down or had an accident. The teacher discussed these concerns with Jones during a parent-teacher conference in June, but accepted the explanation that Jada was clumsy and prone to accidents. These missed opportunities for intervention accumulated as the abuse escalated behind closed doors. What began as harsh verbal reprimands for potty training accidents evolved into physical punishment, with both grandparents later admitting to regularly beating Jada with belts, hands, and shoes. The calendar found in their home with dates meticulously marked when Jada had accidents revealed a disturbing level of premeditation. They weren't just reacting in moments of frustration. They were documenting perceived infractions, building a case against a 5-year-old child who was simply experiencing normal developmental challenges. Have you ever noticed concerning behavior in caregivers that others dismissed? It's a question worth reflecting on, as the line between strict discipline and abuse can sometimes appear blurry to outside observers. In Jada's case, multiple people noticed something wasn't right, yet no one connected the dots or took definitive action until it was too late. The tragedy of Jada Moore forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most dangerous monsters aren't strangers lurking in shadows, but familiar faces hiding behind the respectability of family titles. Potty training represents a significant developmental milestone for any child. Pediatric experts emphasize that accidents are a normal, expected part of this process, with many children not achieving complete mastery until age 5 or even later. The journey requires patience, consistency, and positive reinforcement, qualities entirely absent in the approach taken by Clint Elwoods and Lisa Jones. For Jada Moore, her normal developmental struggles became the focal point of escalating abuse. Court records revealed that the 5-year-old had been making progress with potty training before moving in with her grandparents, but the stress of separation from her mother and adjustment to a new environment likely contributed to regression, a common phenomenon documented by child development specialists. Rather than responding with understanding, Elwoods and Jones interpreted these accidents as deliberate defiance. Their reaction transformed a universal childhood challenge into grounds for brutal punishment. The grandparents exhibited a fundamental misunderstanding of child development, noted a child psychologist who reviewed the case. They were treating normal accidents as willful misbehavior, applying adult standards to a 5-year-old child. According to police reports, the abuse followed a clear pattern of escalation. What began as harsh verbal reprimands evolved into physical punishment that grew increasingly severe over time. Jones admitted during questioning that they initially used timeouts and verbal scolding when Jada had accidents. By May, however, they had begun spanking her with an open hand. By June, they had escalated to using a belt. The calendar recovered from their home painted a disturbing picture of their methodical approach. 4 dates in June were marked with notations about Jada's accidents. Investigators believe this documentation served 2 purposes: to track what they perceived as defiance and to justify the escalating severity of their punishments. Text messages exchanged between Elwoods and Jones, recovered during the investigation, reveal their growing frustration. "She did it again," Jones texted Elwoods while he was out running errands in early July. "This is getting ridiculous. I'll deal with her when I get home." Elwoods replied, "She needs to learn." These exchanges demonstrated a chilling lack of empathy for a child struggling with a normal developmental challenge. More disturbing was their apparent coordination in administering punishment, suggesting the abuse was not impulsive, but calculated. If you're watching this and recognize similar patterns in how caregivers around you respond to children's normal developmental challenges, please don't remain silent. Like this video to help spread awareness and share your thoughts in the comments below. What warning signs do you think people should look for when it comes to potential child abuse? The autopsy would later confirm what these behavioral changes suggested. Jada had been suffering ongoing abuse for weeks before the fatal incident. Her body bore bruises, abrasions, and scars in various stages of healing, indicating repeated beatings over an extended period. The medical examiner noted internal avulsion pockets, areas where tissue had separated due to trauma on her back.
Listen, this makes me want to cry, yo. I just think about my babies and, like, how could you do that? I would die if my babies, man. I would die inside if this was happening to my grandkids. This is, I mean, just look at her. She's beautiful. The video, she's sweet. Like, how could they do this? Their own flesh and blood, yeah. It upsets me.
Back, buttocks, and leg. Perhaps most heartbreaking was evidence suggesting Jada had attempted to hide her accidents from her grandparents. Police found soiled underwear stuffed behind the bathroom toilet and beneath her mattress, silent testimony to a terrified child trying desperately to avoid punishment. The lack of effective oversight during this critical period represents a systemic failure. Despite Kimberly providing her parents with legal authority to make medical decisions for Jada, there is no record of the child visiting a doctor during her time in their care. Had a medical professional examined Jada, the signs of abuse might have been identified and reported. Similarly, while Jada was enrolled in kindergarten during the spring semester, the summer break removed another potential source of outside observation. Teachers are mandated reporters of suspected child abuse, but with school out of session, this safety net was temporarily removed. The isolation created by these circumstances, combined with the grandparents' private nature and the neighborhood's culture of non-interference, created the perfect environment for abuse to intensify unchecked. Each missed opportunity for intervention brought Jada one step closer to the fatal beating that would ultimately end her life. By mid-July, what had begun as inappropriate discipline had evolved into something far more sinister. The stage was set for the final fatal incident that would transform grandparents into murderers and expose a horrifying case of child abuse that had been hiding in plain sight. Friday, July 14, 2023, began as an ordinary summer day in the Elwoods Jones household. According to statements later provided to investigators, Jada had spent the morning watching cartoons while her grandmother prepared lunch. The afternoon passed without incident until approximately 4:30 p.m., when the day took its fatal turn. Lisa Jones was the first to discover that Jada had defecated in her underwear. Court records indicate she immediately called for Clen Elwoods, who was working in the garage. What followed was reconstructed through the grandparents' own statements to police and physical evidence collected at the scene. Elwoods then reminded Moore what he would do if she defecated on herself again, the police report stated. This reference to previous warnings demonstrated the premeditated nature of what followed. This wasn't a spontaneous outburst of anger, but the fulfillment of a threat that had been hanging over the 5-year-old's head. According to Jones' statement, Elwoods instructed Jada to remove her soiled clothing and bend over. He then retrieved a belt, later recovered by crime scene investigators, and proceeded to strike the child between 10 and 12 times on her buttocks and legs. The force of these blows was severe enough to cause the internal injuries that would prove fatal. After the beating, Jada was ordered to shower and then sent to her room without dinner, a further punishment layered onto the physical abuse. Jones told investigators that they checked on Jada approximately an hour later and found her lying on her bed, conscious but crying softly. Neither grandparent sought medical attention despite visible bruising and the child's obvious distress. By 10:30 p.m., when Elwoods went to check on Jada again, he found her unresponsive. Only then, hours after inflicting life-threatening injuries, did he call 911. The recording of this call, later played during court proceedings, captured Elwood's chilling admission. "I was beating my little granddaughter, and now she is out of it." Police and paramedics were dispatched immediately, arriving at the residence around 11 p.m. Body camera footage from the first responding officers showed them entering a house that was eerily quiet. They found Jada completely nude on the living room couch, with Elwood standing nearby and Jones sitting in an adjacent chair. The scene was disturbing not just for what we saw, but for the atmosphere, one officer later testified. There was no panic, no urgency from the grandparents. It was as if they were waiting for a delivery, not emergency services for a dying child. EMTs began CPR immediately upon determining Jada had no pulse. Their efforts continued as she was rushed to a waiting ambulance and subsequently airlifted to Comer Children's Hospital in Chicago. Medical personnel worked through the night to save her life, but the internal injuries, including bleeding between her brain and skull, were too severe. Jada Moore was pronounced dead at 2:17 a.m. On Saturday, July 15, while medical teams fought to save Jada, police began processing the scene and questioning the grandparents. During transport to the police station, Elwoods made another incriminating statement, telling officers, "I was a little too rough with my grandbaby." This casual characterization of fatal child abuse stunned even experienced officers. The search of the home yielded crucial evidence: the belt used in the beating, soiled children's underwear, and the calendar marking previous incidents. Investigators also discovered a notarized letter from Kimberly Elwoods granting her parents temporary custody, a document that had given them legal authority over a child they would ultimately kill. By Saturday afternoon, the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office had completed the autopsy and ruled Jada's death a homicide caused by multiple injuries due to child abuse. The report detailed extensive external and internal trauma, with injuries in various stages of healing that confirmed a pattern of ongoing abuse. On Monday, July 17, Elwoods and Jones appeared in court for their bond hearing. As prosecutors detailed the horrific circumstances of Jada's death, several courtroom observers were visibly shaken. The judge denied bond for both defendants, citing the heinous nature of the crime and the clear danger they posed to society. I'd like to pause here and ask, what state or country are you watching from, and how effective do you think child protection services are in your area? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Understanding how different systems work or fail to work might help us identify solutions that could prevent tragedies like Jada's in the future. As news of the murder spread through Park Forest and beyond, a community was left grappling with how such brutality could occur undetected, and how a child's cry for help could go unanswered until it was silenced forever. The investigation into Jada Moore's death began immediately after first responders arrived at the scene on July 14. While paramedics worked to save the child's life, police officers secured the residence and began documenting evidence, recognizing they were dealing with a potential homicide rather than a medical emergency. Park Forest Police Department investigators worked methodically through the night, photographing the scene, collecting physical evidence, and conducting preliminary interviews with both grandparents. The initial evidence collection yielded several crucial items that would form the foundation of the case against Elwoods and Jones. The belt used in the fatal beating was recovered from the home. This weapon was directly linked to Elwood's own admission that he had struck Jada between 10 and 12 times with it after she had defecated on herself. The pattern of injuries documented during the autopsy would later confirm consistency with this implement. Perhaps most disturbing among the evidence was a calendar where the grandparents had meticulously marked 4 dates in June when Jada had accidents. This documentation demonstrated a calculated approach to tracking what they perceived as the child's infractions, suggesting premeditation rather than impulsive violence. Investigators also discovered soiled children's underwear in the home, corroborating the stated motive for the fatal beating. The presence of this evidence supported the timeline of events as described by both grandparents during questioning. The notarized letter from Jada's mother giving the grandparents custody for school and medical decisions established their legal responsibility for the child's well-being, a responsibility they catastrophically failed to fulfill. The autopsy findings delivered by the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office provided critical evidence for the prosecution. The medical examiner ruled Jada's death a homicide caused by multiple injuries due to child abuse. The report documented that Jada was covered in bruises, abrasions, and scars in various stages of healing, indicating ongoing abuse over time. Internal avulsion pockets were found on her back, buttocks, and legs, while bleeding between her brain and skull indicated severe trauma that ultimately proved fatal. By Monday, July 17, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office had reviewed the evidence and brought first-degree murder charges against both Clint Elwoods, 62, and Lisa Jones, 57. The severity of the charges reflected both the heinous nature of the crime and the substantial evidence, including the defendant's own incriminating statements. During police questioning, both grandparents had made damning admissions. They acknowledged regularly beating Jada using a belt, their hands, and even shoes. Jones explained that Jada had a history of pooping on herself, and that Elwoods had warned the child he would whip her with a belt if it happened again.
Okay, y'all, look. Seems like this guy, they're repeating the same thing over, so I won't continue with it. I'm going to end it here. And if you'd like to finish off the last, what is it? Let's see. The last 10 minutes or so, you can do that on their channel. Because like at this point, they're just repeating everything. And I pretty much just want to, just wanted to share with you that story and how devastating that is. It was making me very upset. So I'm going to end it there. And I hope you guys got some good info and, learned a little bit from this. Please like it, share it, and leave some comments if you like. I enjoy reading the comments. So until the next video, I'm going to go ahead and go because I got to lay down. My back hurts. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you on the next one. Bye, you guys. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye.